Welcome to the next step, yeah, the next phase, where the sky ain't the limit, it's just a place. Next level vibes for your ears today. Next level, next level. Take it up, never settle. Next level, where the stories turn special. It's the Next Level Podcast.
It's a really highly unregulated industry. Your first question shouldn't be how much something is when it comes to people's safety. It's never going to be the perfect alert most times. The weakest link is always the human. It's just rehearsal. Training should be, how do I find my gaps? If you could light your decoy on fire, you'd want to see if your dog would bite the person on fire. My main goal as a supervisor is reduce the guessing as much as possible. I'm for it in the sense of we can have national standards. We'll kind of go from a general labor kind of mentality to a much more specialist mentality. The entire thing's blank. Look at this fucking fat clown showing up. All 10 dogs in training are running the same hides. The dogs are using each other. You know, all these things that aren't realistic. I want us to go through some of the pain and some of the failures so you can actually get better versus preventing you from those failures. Preventing you or allowing you to make it up or redo it isn't going to make you better. It's going to create a false sense of confidence in most cases and reduces accountability that we should take in what we do.
I love that. And we're asked to do some evaluations for all different types of teams that will come in. And some of them, we just want to get an idea of what you think about this team. Some of them are coming with a known deficiency. And so I don't say a lot in the beginning just to get an evaluation of truly like, how are you solving these problems? How much input are you putting into the situation between you and the dog? What's the relationship like between you and the dog? Sometimes it's painfully obvious that there's a disconnect and there's a lot of conflict, especially with our dual purpose teams. So, once we set up very simple problems, I'm surprised when I ask, hey, what do you think the objective of this exercise is? And often they can't conceptualize, like, I don't really know, right? Like, I'm just supposed to do this. Like, my dog is supposed to do this. And so once I started to recognize that it's not part of the everyday processing that we should be doing as handlers, is truly, what is my objective in this deployment? What is my objective in this exercise? Do I have a plan when things don't go to that objective? What happens when things go left when they should go right? Do you have what you need in order to fix those issues? But often when they go bad, and I'm silent when I'm, like I said, originally kind of looking at everything. That's when I'll ask, like, hey, so are things not going well? Can you describe what's not going well? What tools do you have to fix this? And if not, it's a great opportunity to say, hey, I'm not picking on you, but you are the subject matter expert on your dog. You should know where the deficiencies are, and you should have a plan if things go bad, because we are the professionals. We are the people that a lot of people are putting trust of loss of life sometimes, right? Or loss of property. And so we try to take that serious, but it's just something that over the years, I've recognized that even as a handler myself, I could do better. I take those things for granted sometimes. And so asking those simple questions have done a lot for me personally as a trainer. And as a handler, it's really helped me kind of pinpoint exactly what I'm trying to achieve.
Like you, I'm pretty quiet, at least on day one, which drives handlers nuts, especially my civilian handlers. They hate that I don't give feedback. And part of that is I don't feel I'm responsible if I give feedback without knowing the team better. Sure, I can blurt some things out, and I might be right, also might be equally as wrong. So I kind of learned over the years, I hold back from actually doing a lot of feedback until I see more. Second part of that is going into the part, like I ask the teams, this is each discipline, but the first question is, why are you here? What's the reason? Why are you here? Can you explain to me why you're here? Okay. How do you plan to execute on what you're here for? What is your plan of attack? How are you going to handle this? And they explain that to me. Okay. What is the desired end state? What should it look like in the affirmative and or the negative? What does it look like? And if they can explain to me why they're there, how they plan to get these things done, and what end state should look like, okay, go knock it out. And then we can review. Did you follow those things? You told it to me, but did you actually do it in the way that you discussed? because exactly what you said, there, whether it be your company you work for or the agency you work for, you walk around very proudly with your certificate that all of them think that because you have that piece of paper there from Snoopy that says you're now an SME, because it's exactly what they see. You went through that course, you went through the X amount of weeks, you came out, you have the certificate from wherever you got it from, you are now deemed the SME. Now, in most cases, you are the SME of your dog, but you're probably not quite, especially new teams. I can't expect them to be an actual SME. I expect them to know that, but what I have failed them as an instructor, if they don't know how to give me, why are you here? How do you plan on executing this? And what does end state look like? And if we have a deviation of this, what is your corrective action? How do you deal with that? And then, and maybe as we progress, I purposely throw monkey wrenches in this. And then that was one of the things I learned from the Navy SEAL job when I was out there for Cobra Canine and doing the canine trainer for the Group 1 out in Coronado, was I would listen to these guys in these debriefs. And it was really a learning part for me, was how they took accountability. Like they had to go through, this is what we do, this is how we're doing it. And the job of us instructors, and I say us, meaning my dog side, we had a little bit of say, but I got to watch the trade ed instructors. Basically, they're in the room in many of these cases, watching what the plan's going to be. They're listening to the team, set up the how, the why, and the end state, right? What does mission success look like? Then as the mission starts, the instructors throw monkey wrenches at them constantly. Wreck the plan this way, wreck the plan that way, because they're looking at how do these teams or these operators adapt to the changing environment. Can they make can they adapt as needed, or do they get bogged down? Do they not necessarily panic, but do they impulsively make decisions versus slowing it down, figuring out what adaptations do we need to make, and then how do we execute those things? So again, that lesson I took from that, watching that world and being lucky enough to be a part of that world to a certain extent, was when I in various training scenarios, especially when I go do my seminars, I will set stuff up and then I purposely throw a monkey wrench in things. Sometimes it's simply as I don't give them information, or I give them bad info and I look at how they solve that. I give them no feedback like we talked about and let them stew on it until the end of the training evolution. And then I walk through and give the answers of like, what, this area had something in it, this area had nothing in it. Why did you do that? So because these things aren't happening in the typical canine training evolution day, like so whether it's the weekly training sessions or whether it's in the school when they're going through schools, we have to stop doing the checkbox training and go into more of, let's see that you're good at this. Back to how this conversation started, was how do I know the team is good? Well, I'm testing both ends of the team, the dog, the nose end, and I'm also testing the operator end, the handler end. What are they doing? So, yeah.
Well, the idea of adding stress to that operation is important too, because I often have to artificially add stress to an environment because it's hard to replicate those type of stressors when you're really deploying. And so just speaking from experience, when I was on really serious deployments, I remember feeling sick to my stomach and thinking, holy crap, am I over my head? And trying to think of all the basic things that I should be remembering. And it was helpful to have a checklist. And thank God, I had the mentors I had, and I actually spoke to them before some of these serious deployments to be like, hey, I'm headed this way. Like, this is what's happening. Walk me through this process. This is what I'm thinking. What am I missing? And of course, I'm missing like a plethora of things. But going through that process is super helpful. So I often, like in the very beginning when I'm training people, I lost the idea of making sure that I was connecting with the handler sometimes, especially if this is a long-term relationship. And so what I tell people is like, that I care for you, right? You know that I'm here for you and your dog. So when I'm elevated and I'm adding that stress, know that it's not me being an a-hole to be an a-hole. It's actually because I care for you and your dog, and I want you to go home to your family. And I know your husband, I know your wife, and I know your kids, and I have an obligation to set you up for success. So, that helps me a little bit. In the beginning, I just did it like how my mentors were. They were just hell or high water. Yeah. It's just, you're gonna get beat down, son, and that's just the way it is. And they had good intentions, but I think my approach is a little differently because it doesn't fit my personality all that well to do that. But yes, sometimes I have to get elevated for the sake of helping them understand what's at hand. And so what's your approach when it comes to that? Because we have to add some level of stress into those operational environments.
Yeah. I mean, it's like you just said, we have to pressure test. We have to see. I can tell you right now, probably up until a few years ago, I did it in not great ways. I did it like my mentors did it to me. I would put you through the suck just because I wanted you to do it because I had to go do it. I evolved when being lucky enough to be around Michael Ellis, and I had an opportunity to sit down with Bob Bailey. Bob Bailey is kind of like one of the OGs in animal training world. And I got to teach in front of him one time, and I asked him, same thing, like, what advice would you give me? And the unique answer he gave on that one was, and it really helped align me a little bit, was he said, my best advice to you is, he said, Cameron, you know the information, you understand it, you can articulate it. My advice to you is forgiveness. And I was like, forgiveness? What are you talking about? And I didn't say that out loud. In my head, I was like, forgiveness? What is he talking about? He said, you need to forgive your industry. You need to forgive that they're not going to do it the way you think they should do it. And you can't come at them. His words were exactly this. You can't come at them like a master sergeant and hammer them for doing it wrong. You have to come to their level and say, how can I help you? What can I do? What are you looking for to get better? And then walk them through those processes. But then at certain points, hold the line. Like whatever your accountability line is, make sure that they adhere to that. But you can't come at them with, here's the line, you suck, you aren't making it, you'll never be good at, And there was a lot of truth to that because, I'll talk a little bit about my own evolution over the past even 5 years. Is I was very passionate about, one, some of it was me holding the grudge on those old guys in front of me, they were in my mind holding me down. I had great ideas and I could prove some of my ideas were better than their ideas. And then finally, when I had enough of a platform, I could go around and say, see, that idea sucks because of X, Y, and Z. Here's why you need to do it this way, because I can show you these things. And again, like anything, there was truth to both sides of that equation. Yes, maybe some of the things I was sharing were an improvement, but maybe not for every dog team. Then I got really pulled into the science world because inside I'm a dog nerd. So I loved all that science stuff. And then when I went around and I taught classes, I was going deep in the weeds in the science and all this kind of stuff. I would get reinforced by the other 5 other dog geeks in the room, but I was missing out on the other 65 people in the room that just wanted to figure out a way to get better. I can't even read my dog. So using all these big words and all of these methodologies, I don't know. I don't even know where to put that information. So when training with Michael, after he saw me for about a year teaching, he said, I asked him, what advice would you give? And his words were, you're almost too technical. You're almost... And then he was like, and then you have your things that you feel passionate about that you really enjoy doing, whether it be a methodology or a scientific fact or whatever it is. He said, because I've sat now through classes and I can look at your audience and I've been watching how your audience's facial expressions are, and the ones that are nodding their heads versus the ones that are just glazed over. And there's a lot of glazed over and only a few nodding heads. He said, what do you remember as a handler? What was important to you? And as soon as he said that, I was like, all I wanted to be was good at working my dog. I wanted to be good at reading my dog. I wanted confidence to know that if I called it, I wasn't just holding the leash going, don't screw me now. Hopefully we figure this out. I wanted to be better than that. So I did gravitate towards, people who were good at showing me how to get better at working my dog than the one that was really good at information. I had to start separating it. That's why the past year, my whole goal and everything I teach I'm here. You brought me here. What can I do to make you better? Or what problems are you having? I don't even do PowerPoints anymore. I literally do like Michael Ellis. I just stand there and I talk. And here's what I've learned. It's so much better. The audience is way more engaged now that I don't use any more PowerPoints. They literally are just watching what you're saying and they're writing notes because there's nothing on the screen anymore that they can take their phone and do this with. So it actually turned into they learn better, they open up more because there isn't a PowerPoint dictating the conversation. They are dictating the conversation to me, and I'm responding to it. And cops, they're usually quiet at first. So I'll start off with a topic that I know resonates with lots of them. And then from that one, you'll get the one or two that'll ask the question. And once the dam breaks, then you get the questions coming to you. And the only thing I do is I add one rule to the questions. And I just say, hey, look, I will answer every question we can possibly that you can throw at me as best I can. I only ask that you ask these questions in the group setting versus coming up to me, because we both know this. As soon as you take a break from your lecture or whatever you're doing, they all come up to you one at a time with their questions. And there's some great questions, and there's a lot of repetitive questions. So I just tell them, so they still come up to me, and I'll just say, that's a great question. Ask me again when we're in the group, because I want other people to hear this, because I know you aren't the only one feeling this or going through this. And man, has that completely changed the game for my seminars. Now I come in, I'm way more connected with everybody. They see that I have the same goal that they have, which is, what can I do to make you better? And then I also make them go do it. Like, I don't just go set out hides anymore. Day one, maybe. After that, they have to set stuff up for each other. They are all running independently from each other. They also see that there's a thought process, that now the wait time isn't waiting for your time to run as your longest downtime. The setup is the longest downtime, because once we have multiple areas set up, I can run 5 dogs, maybe 4 dogs all at one time. And everybody can go watch each other, which means they're also learning from one another. It's no more you run, then you run, then you run, then finally the last guy has waited 2 hours for their turn to run, and they couldn't watch each other because we didn't want anybody to know where the answer was, even though they still talk to each other anyway. Now I'm like, here's what we're due. What do you need? You need this. You need that. Okay, cool. This area is going to be set up for this kind of thing. We're going to set up this over here. And they go through it. And then it's much more integrated. People are much more apt to talk and ask questions and feel included and not feel like they're dumb, for lack of a better description, meaning that the materials that I'm sharing are very technical, or I'm using big words and I'm talking about scientific research. I still love the scientific research. I still love methodologies, but I've realized I'm missing the mark when I spend so much time talking about that, when the number one factor is all a handler wants to really be is reliable and good at what they do. And now that the focus I do is based on that aspect, the progress and the reception I get from the teams, and then agencies like, when can you come back? We want to set this up with you. We want to go do that with you. Versus what I had before, which was, like I said, the geeky ones, or the ones that were like nerds like me, were really interested, and they would talk to me and ask questions, but I didn't really even know how much I was missing out on until I did this new way. And it was thanks to Michael and, like I said, Bob Bailey, just realized, and that's why those guys are amazing at what they do, because they figured out. Now what I'm finally figuring out is, oh, I need to meet you at where you're at, not try to bring you up to me. Even though that's really what I will do.
Sure.
But I'm not starting off the conversation trying to bring you up to where I'm at. I'm now starting the conversation of where you're at, and then we're going to go there the same direction at the pace that you need.
Well, great wisdom. I mean, gosh, it's like, it's such a a retrospective thing to know that guys that you can trust, number one, are analyzing things that you're doing because they care about you, and they want to make sure they get it right. And good for you to ask the question, because that's such an important thing. We're all still growing. So here's my opportunity to ask you for your advice on something. I have jumped into an industry recently that has been difficult, to say the least, which is the mold detection industry. And with that, it's a couple of reasons why. Number one, the people that are working dogs in the industry, they're doing it often because they have their own story with being affected by mold. Sometimes it's their family, sometimes, God forbid, it's their children that have been affected, and they saw a mold dog come in their home and find hidden mold, and it started the healing process for them. So they're inspired by that, and I have nothing but respect for those people. And so often they'll go to a place, they'll I'm not going to name any names, but they'll go to a location, spend big money, and make that sacrifice financially, and try to make a difference in helping other families, which is honorable, so honorable. And I love that. But they have not received a formal training like they probably should often they're going with their pet dogs to a location, and they're being told that that pet dog is now going to be a detection dog. And so one of the things I recognized the industry needed was some type of standard. And so we helped create a certification for mold, which allows us to isolate mold, so we can say, kind of like an odor recognition test, which is actually the first part of the test. Can this dog discriminate between odors they're going to find in a home and respond to trained odor? That's phase one, and then operational. You would not believe the hate that it came my way, because I was trying to raise the standard so that people who are paying for this often very expensive service are getting something out of it. What is your advice to me on how to kind of navigate through that process?
Well, number one, keep holding the standard. Hold that standard, because that's the most important thing. Here is, and I've shared it with handlers that I ran into probably a few months ago. I was in Vegas doing teaching and stuff like that, and there was a couple of handlers that were looking at getting in the mold world. And I just said, well, my first thing was kind of like figuring out for them what was the reason or motivation behind it. And a lot of it was similar to other things, like, well, this is a way I can get into becoming a detection dog handler. So here's the history I have with it. 2005, and I lived in Florida. So Florida's a humid area. Mold's a big thing in the Southeast. And especially in 2005, when we went through the entire alphabet of hurricanes into the Greek alphabet. Like, that was how many hurricanes we had, or tropical storms.
Yeah.
So there was a gentleman who had a bomb dog business, and he also had, I think he even did bed bugs back in those days too. But he did mold and tried to franchise it, tried to grow it, tried to do everything that I see now that exists. And he ran into the realities, which were, one, and it's even changed, I'm sure, even since now, but a lot of the things that people would do would just, and again, this was where we kind of had some answers, meaning like, it's Florida, mold's going to be a thing. Remediation was just, we're just going to rip everything out. We don't really care. So then his niche became, well, okay, cool, we get that. But what about those who don't know it's there? They didn't have a leak in the house, or they didn't have the typical things. Maybe it was just a window that was not as good as another one, and mold developed behind the bed that you never saw. So just kind of like you said, medically, people would have issues, and then they would bring in options, right? And that could vary. Technology has gotten better than it probably was in 2005 or 20 years later, right? But what the real facts were, even then, when the opportunity to use dogs was pretty strong, it wasn't a financially viable business. If you didn't care if it was for the cause, like you said, for the good reasons, those people would kind of continue doing it. Being in the position they didn't need the money. They could go do it. They had other venues for money, but they wanted to do it for the good reason. So those existed, but those are much more few and far between. The other side of that coin was those who got into it hoping it was the next detection gold mine, like bed bugs were in that same time frame, like in the mid 2000s, around 2010 or so. Bed bugs was the gold mine for detection dogs. There was a bunch that came out, and it died off over time because of various reasons. Mold, again, was even more niche than even bed bugs. But what they realized was it's hard to educate the consumer or get the buy-in to want to go use this thing. So then, back then, we had lots of mold dogs that became either bed bug dogs or became some other specialty, so that way they could get some more experience or more usage, or those who needed to make money off of this, make a living off of it. So for you, the advice I would give is more or less be the mentor to educate them on many of the cons and the risks. But if you pursue this, here is a way to do it, maintaining this. Now, I had one more thing that came out back then, and I'm not sure which comes out now, but we had a big veterinarian pushback that became a major issue, which was we were exposing the dogs to these toxic things. And that made a lot of people pull back because that just didn't feel good. And sure, there was risk. And again, things have changed, technology and things that we have available now we didn't have back then. So there was probably a little bit more inherited risk that there might exist today. I don't know enough about it to say what we can do to mitigate that. But that was another pretty hard hit to that industry, is when we had a big push that, oh, you're putting your, and this is without social media. This was just word of mouth in the dog world. Now we have social media where word can fly like that. So I would say fight the good fight, meaning if people are going to do it, here's the realistic aspect of it. I recommend, if you do this, be well informed. Know everything you need to know about mold first. Know all the stuff about it. Where does it grow? How does it grow? What causes it? Because in a way, in order to work your dog properly, it isn't just walk in the room and let him do it. It is, why are we here? How do I execute this? And what should end state look like? So for somebody like you that comes into it to help somebody else like that, you are a source to point them in the direction. Like, you got your plate full. So I don't expect you to become a mold expert, but you will go further than most will, because if you're in the role of teaching, you're going to have to go into it deeper than most. But I think in your position, because again, all the other things that are also on your plate, here's guys, when you come to me for this, here's what you need to be paying attention to. Here's how to educate yourself. Take it to this step. Now, once you have the dog, here's what we need to train and how we train it the safest way possible. Because again, operationally, we are going to expose the dogs to something that are fairly toxic. So what can I do in training to reduce risk of that? I don't overly expose. And are there things that we can do that are safer than what might be this? Again, in the early 2000s, when I'm talking about this, we didn't have soaks. We didn't have mimics. We didn't have, it was just scrape the mold off the wall, put it in a Petri dish, and go run it, right? I say I didn't do it, but that's what I saw the teams do, because that guy, like I said, the same guy, he had a big bomb dog company. So the mold stuff was just peripheral stuff that he was trying. Like, he was an entrepreneur. He looked at that. He's like, well, no one's doing this. Florida's covered in mold everywhere. I am going to be running like gangbusters in the mold world. And there's no ATF agent around telling me about my explosives. So, but he ran into it. It took about 3 years or a little bit more. Then he realized, oh, this wasn't what he thought it was going to be. Again, all the things, the risks and the things I brought up. And then the people was the other part of it. As he tried to franchise this and turn it into other people doing it under his brand, we all look at this, the dog obedience world. Just trying to franchise those things can be an utter nightmare, let alone something as niche as mold detection and what that might draw in, how you manage it is just a lot. So in your position, you want to be kind of like a traffic cop. I'm going to direct you this way. I'm going to direct you this way. And if you go across this line, I want to at least make sure that you're capable of doing what we say we were doing. You're kind of like the gatekeeper traffic cop. Mm-hmm. And I would say, because then you're invested under the right ways. And because you're an SME, you can speak to them realistically about what we're getting into. And maybe with some of them, and this is what I've said to some of them that come to me too, is like, maybe mold isn't the route that you want to take based on what your motivation is. Because again, some of them are coming based on, I want to become a professional handler. It isn't necessarily a connected story to a health reason, right? There's those that are out there. But we both know this. If I had to do percentages, I would probably say the higher percentage is the person looking for the venue or the direction to become a professional handler. And mold, like again, I'm old enough to know bell bottoms existed. And when they come back around, I can go, those were around in the 70s. My joke on the mold, as I say this out loud, is I've seen mold already before. It died off. It is now resurging and I think it resurges a little bit better now because of social media, because of YouTube, because of the things where the word can spread faster. But with that's that double-edged sword about social media. It's good and it's bad. You're also going to attract in a much more diverse type of population that wants to get into it for any number of reasons, where he was the guy controlling the message back then. I am the mold guy. Here's how you do it. This is my system. Oh, pay me the whatever it was probably back then, 35 grand to have the title of mold detection services. And I see it in the bed bug world. The bed bug world has a lot of parallels to this, right? You have private businesses, you have some franchise ones. Yep. And the only difference is bed bug it doesn't have some of the health risk that the mold will have to deal with. So I don't have to put on a Kyvec suit in the bed bug world. And I don't have to in the mold world, but I probably would want to. I'd probably want, if I'm going into this location where it's highly probable, I probably do want to have some type of N95 or even better mask. I don't want to bring it back with me inadvertently. My dogs, I want to protect them. So there's just a lot to consider. So my advice is kind of do what you kind of like you describe you're doing, is be the gatekeeper to direct people where to go, how to do it, and then to uphold the standard that you would want if you were going to hire the company or the person to go look for mold in your place. But I think the biggest success piece is that handler has to be I won't call him a mold expert, but a highly educated person about mold, the environments, and based on location, what is the most probable areas and which. And even at that point, you can probably walk in and do a visual inspection and locate a lot of it. Flag it, tag it, do whatever, and then go run the dog in areas that you didn't see to see if it's developing behind the paint, stuff like that.
Yeah, that's perfect. First off, thanks for the advice. I really appreciate it. And to the things that you mentioned, health was like number one in my priority. It was just like, all right, how are we doing this safely? And then where are the standards, and recognizing there was a lack of standards. So before I came in, I believe the practice was get with a remediation company who has tested these things, pay them for those samples, and then use it as your training aid. It's good in the aspect of it also includes the substrate that it's growing on. So you have that as a complete picture, which is nice. And we can talk about why that is. But for me, I recognize that GetSent was going to be a huge opportunity here. So my next call was to Gregory, who we had a conversation. He was just like, Steve, I have mold odors already that I get from Austria, because Austria, ironically, is one of the only countries that require a canine mold inspection when a home changes hands. And since they require it, the government actually grows their own mold and individual species of mold. And so what Gregory does is he impregnates his GetSent tubes with those different species of mold. So that was my answer for training aids. And as we move forward with the industry, my answer for long-term safety, number one, if we're doing an inspection of a home, is of course do a visual inspection. For Christ's sake, if you see something, you don't need to put the dog in there. So we're supposed to be finding hidden mold, not mold that's already visual to the eye. That's one thing. And then we're moving to a different model where we're actually sending blank GetSent tubes to our customers. So so every room can have that opportunity to soak in that odor, and then run a mold dog in a lab setting where we can say yes. And then we can even send those GetSent tubes to mass spec if they really wanted to, so we can see exactly what it is. That's a much safer way to do it. And that's kind of what we're moving.
It's a layered
forward.
approach, which makes really good sense. It's using technology and the dog together in a better way than when we did before. And I was, as you were describing that, I bet, I have it right here, the Rasco device.
Yes.
So I bet with, I would think that would be a fantastic way to, and a much safer way to really do it right and as safe as possible.
Yep.
And again, the type of handler that you really want is the one who is, I don't know if the word is, if it's a biologist, but basically somebody who's totally into mold and all of these things. Or if someone's like, I'm a dog handler, then I'm gonna say, great, I want you to be, dog handler is one of your steps, but you need to become a mold expert, and you need to get your hands wrapped around that world. And then I'm going to put the dog with you. If we try to come in as a dog person first, and we get all excited because I love dogs and I'm a dog person and I want to be a detection dog handler, and then you try to go learn about the mold, I think it's too reverse at that point. I think it needs to be the other way around. Get really good at mold again, because then if you can get through that and you're passionate about that, the dog part's the easy part. But my fear is, and I've seen it in a lot of others, this isn't just picking on mold, but if they come into it all about the dog and not about the job that they have to go do, we're probably making ourselves not so great as a team if my human doesn't really understand its job. to the right degree that it needs to go execute it properly. And like you said, to know the, like, okay, first thing is, we're like, again, I see this in the bed bug world a little bit better, is I see good teams, you know, as a friend of mine, they do a whole inspection. Like, they can visually go around and go do stuff and go, okay, we're good. He's also, ironically, as we say this, he's also employing the Rasco in his world, in the bed bug world, because he can go draw samples. Instead of having his dog search every single room, he can do a little 10-foot lineup that had maybe 15 rooms in it. And then within seconds, have 15 rooms, basically at least enough intel to go, okay, we need to go check maybe rooms 4 through 5 or 4 through 6 versus 1 through 10. Yep. So I just think it's important. Everything we're highlighting is become a skilled technician at what you do, then add the dog to it, and then you are a specialist at what you do.
I love it. Love it. As we wrap it up, man, give us give some advice to the new handler that wants to get in on this. Let's say they're in it for the right reasons. They have all the beautiful things as far as personality traits. They're hardworking. They have a thick skin. They can take constructive criticism really well. They want to get in this world. What's the advice you're going to give to that brand new handler?
Nothing is ever good enough, meaning that you keep trying, you keep wanting to learn. You've said the law of the major qualities that are important, but don't accept the status quo. Don't accept, unfortunately, our detection dog industry as it is today. It's improving. I'm the first to say our industry is doing amazing things. I look at it as we have a long way to still go, because my ideal is guys like, if I use my European counterparts as a great example of this, is I want to be able to be out of business, in the sense of, you don't necessarily need me. You need me more as the coach than as the instructor. Of course, my job in the beginning is the instructor, but I need to fade away. And because you become so skilled at it, I'm more or less there to coach you with, like, yeah, that's a great idea. Hey, you know, Jocko Willink in the SEAL team community is really good at leadership stuff, right? He makes a whole living on that kind of stuff. And I've had to kind of realign now that I have more employees working with me. I had to change my style of leadership. And I look at it this way from positions of us in this industry. I don't want to be telling you all the time, this is the way it should be. I want to be teaching you and then cutting you loose to go do it. And then you come back to me and say, hey, this is the idea I have. This is what I want to go do. Most times my answer will be, go do it. See what it is. But if there's something that's glaring, I can say, hey, good ideas. Also, just for your information, look at this or this as possible outcomes based on what you brought up. It could be better based on the experiences I've gone through, the mistakes that I've made. You might want to try this one first. And if it doesn't work, you jump to your other ones. My goal much more now is to empower the teams to become specialists, to keep striving to be better and better at what they're doing, and not be happy with, if you see that your training or the training group that you go to is status quo, it weekly looks the same or monthly looks the same, that's probably not the best for your overall development. And if you really are passionate about this and you love doing this kind of work, this is how you can go about doing it to get better. And all I want to do as an instructor is educate you, provide some guardrails if need be, and just be the coach that you can come to for ideas. I'm not, the hardest part that I've had to go through is not be the one like, this is how you do it. This will make you better. Da, 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 da. You don't, and I've done it wrong, and I now know better how to improve myself in order to give you the empowerment to become better as a dog handler with your dog at whatever specialty you go do.
Cameron, you mentioned that you recently promoted somebody. I don't know if you said they were a trainer or a manager.
They were a handler and they become now a trainer with us.
Okay. So I recently met a young lady. Her name is Seattle. She's from Utah, where I instantly recognize her as like the future trainer. And she has all the qualities. She can retain information really, really well. She can multitask, do these things. She's asking all the right questions, and she's not there yet. But what advice do you have for me to pour into her? What things should I be instilling in her as a young potential trainer? I say that, but she's going to be one. How can, because I find that to be so rare. Most people just wants to be handlers and that's it. And she's not asking to be a trainer, by the way, which makes her even better.
Yeah,
But what advice could you give me to kind of flourish that relationship and make sure that we're getting the most out of her? Because we need more Seattles in this industry.
Create the opportunity to get her hands on different dogs and let her do her thing. And allow the failures to happen, allow the mistake, because we know in most cases the dog is going to break on one. Like that's the other part of our industry is like, don't do this because if you do this, this will happen. And again, there's some truth in there somewhere. But usually the truth is if you do it so many times, you might ruin the dog. But this 1 or 2 or 3 times isn't going to break the dog. Give her the freedom to do whatever she does with that dog and just sit back, take notes, or watch the videos. If you can't be there, just watch videos of what occurs, take notes, and then ask her, how does she feel about whatever occurred? How do you feel about the outcome of this session today? And again, I'm stealing this from the SEAL team community. The way the words they use is give me 2 highs, 2 lows. Give me 2 things that you think were great and 2 things that you want to improve. Most times, they're going to hit the things they didn't like. They're going to say, I didn't like this, I didn't like this. And they'll probably give you more than 2. Usually that already matches what you wrote down or the notes that you have. So now you don't even really have to hit them with it. You're going to say, yep, you're right. That occurred. But let me show you what you did right because you didn't bring that up. Here's the things that I really liked about what you did. So you highlight the things you didn't do so well on. What do you think you could do to remediate that or fix that, or what corrective action do you think you want to employ to address that? And you let them go through it. Like, this is what I'm thinking. This is how I want to do it. And in some cases, you're like, okay, next time, let's construct the training to best address that. So then I say to them, what's the very first step you're going to do on that next session? How do you want to set this up? What can we do to set it up for success? That's where I go through what is the procedures that we're going to do? What's the protocols that we're going to execute on? And then how do I know what my outcome should look like? And if I can we can call those out pretty nicely. All I do is say, here's your box. Do whatever you want in the box. I'm going to try to keep you from going too far outside the box. But even if you step outside the line, not a big deal. I'm going to try to bring you back in as gently as I can. And again, these are the mistakes I did because I would come in and say, this is how you will do this. This is what I expect. And then through frustration, sometimes I'd be like, Natalie's joked around with me before, like my glasses will fly off. Like, what the hell is this? Because I am, it's that parent to child kind of concept. I am a product of my upbringing. And I recognize now in my 50s that I have to adapt. I can still be that way, but I will lose more and more of the generations behind me or below me or in my age graphic, either they're younger than me. I'm going to lose them if I keep operating the way I am because I'm distant. I'm archaic in what I do. Or I find how I can connect to them and share my experience and my lessons learned with them without making them feel guilty, without making them feel shitty about it. Don't get me wrong. I think we should always take accountability, especially if the onus is on us, just like I have to do for myself, take accountability for it, but help them figure out how to take accountability for it. And then in those debriefs that we have together, if I were to see somebody struggling with their ability to take accountability for what happens, my thing would be, how can I help them see it? Like, what is it just ego that's preventing them from seeing it? Or is it just lack of knowledge that's preventing them to see it? And if it's ego, that's one thing. Then that's a personality trait that we have to deal with. If it's just they don't know, cool. Let me show you how we can go do this and become better about it. So I want handlers in that situation for you, give that trainer the freedom to FAFO, figure it out, play with it, because we both know. I know I'll speak for me. We had the old trainer in front of us, and when he would leave the field, me and my best friend would tinker with our dogs when he wasn't looking. We would try this, try that, be like, see, that old guy didn't know. Sometimes he was right. We didn't see what he saw. And then all of a sudden we would have to tuck our tails a little bit and be like, and pretend we weren't messing around with the dogs, because she's like, wait, where did this problem come from? But there was other times we had successes and we were like, see, we knew. It's hard sometimes to feel comfortable doing that, right? Because you are a little fearful, especially early in your career. Could I mess this dog up? Am I going to do this? And sometimes I got to say, if we've selected the right dog, look how many mistakes you've already made and your dog still figures this out. So your dog isn't as fragile as you see it could be. It's resilient. And this is why, the kind of thing is, you can get kind of philosophical with this, but dog is God backwards. There's that aspect of, this dog is very forgiving of you. This dog is very understanding of you. This dog probably knows a lot about your emotional state better than you do. So don't take it personal. Make the mistakes. Your dog is resilient. Your dog will forgive you for your mistakes generally, as long as you're not abusive about it. And that you can get better by just trying things and doing it together as a team. Fail together, get better together. And it's never a linear thing. You're going to do this. You're going to go up and down, up and down, up and down. I mean, like I said, I'm a personal testimony to, I have made way more mistakes than I've got it right. My goal now is to get it right more than I make mistakes, but I will still stumble. The old Cameron didn't go away. It's still in there sometimes. It still will come out. It'll still do its thing, but my goal is to be better about that and to not be, I mean, I'll even throw this in because I know everybody that watches us, the pseudo versus real kind of thing. I even share now with a lot of people that come to me with that question a lot of times. I'm like, look, everybody, I was, again, like I said, always beginning, I was the biggest proponent. I was one of the biggest proponents of it. I loved it. I was behind it. I just over time became educated. I had different feelings about it based on my experiences. But when they come to me now, and I'll give you a perfect example. There was an agency I was training with. That's what they had in their kit. I asked them about what was their expectations from it. And their answer was, we have it because we can't use the real substance under certain circumstances. And we use it just to keep the dog good at detection. And we do kind of come at it as, we understand whether let's say it's real and it's really crappy stuff, or it's really pure stuff. In a way, it's just another chemical substance the dog is going to detect. And I can use it in this circumstance. I don't necessarily think it always connects to this. This doesn't mean it's always going to equal this. And I was like, perfect, cool, no problem. And people at first were like, wow, I'm surprised. I thought you were going to give me some crap about that. I'm like, look, even within this, and I have to say that even within a certain community, we used it knowing that it was an option. The dog still located a substance, did his train thing, still did his job. We just know that we can't be certain, just like I can be in the argument of those that make it and say, just because you train on your stuff doesn't mean it's always going to connect to the other. That's why we have to have that generalization conversation. Mm-hmm. I want people to understand that, we can all evolve and we can all change. And I don't hate this stuff, even though I would come at it harder before, because I was empowered to be like, see, there is differences. I'm a rehab user of it, all this kind of stuff. I say now is, look, everybody, it is a tool. It is out there. Be informed. Use things as you can, but the more important thing is make sure you are generalizing your target. And if that's one of your options, do it. Just be smart about what you're doing and understand. Because even those who make those are the first to tell you, you still have to do real stuff operationally. You still have to. So they're not saying you only need this, even though, again, thanks to the internet and things like that, it becomes an all or nothing, conversation. And I was definitely proponent on both sides of the equation. I was all when I was for it, and I was harping hard against it when I became, in my experience, what I learned from it. And there will be those that will argue that, like, well, you were educated wrong. You were this. I also have my own experiences, and I have experiences to the pro and I have experiences to the con. And all I now do is, like, again, because it becomes unfortunately heated. And I try to now temper that heat, because again, when you're on one side of the argument or the other, both sides, I mean, look at this. This is all the Facebook has turned into, or the social media has turned into these days. I don't care what it is, dog training, not dog training. It is, you are either on team A or team B, and you're not allowed to float between two if you wanted to, because you're a trade, whatever it is. I want people to be empowered to try stuff. And if it works for you, understand about it. Understand the pros and cons to it. And if it works, cool, no problem. Cameron doesn't hate you one way or the other. Cameron still loves you for what you're doing. Cameron loves the fact that you love detection dogs. Cameron loves the fact that you want to become a better handler or a trainer. And if I can help facilitate that in some way or another, that's what I'm here to go do. I'm not here to make you or to isolate you. And again, these are lessons that I've learned by doing it the wrong way.
Yep.
I want to, what can I do to help? And open your eyes to whatever possibilities do exist in your world.
Cameron Ford loves pseudo is the title of this podcast episode.
You never know. Hey,
just kidding.
That would definitely freak some people out, but hey, no, but I think it's just, I think if we can just, look at things from a more productive standpoint and not so much emotional standpoint, which is easier said than done, because I'm the first guy that was highly emotional and reactive to, I still sometimes I'll see stuff and I'm like, there's an internal part of me that wants to react, and I'm gotten a lot better. I mean, I've pulled away a lot from social media in the sense of how I used to use it. I do far more now in private groups. Like, I think that's the evolution of social media, because it's not social media anymore. It's actually emotional media. It's how can I hit you in a way that gets a reaction out of you, and it's not so social. The only ways you actually can have good kind of constructive kind of conversations is, unfortunately, is using those platforms in a more private sense, so you don't lose the message. The example I'm giving is, if I went to my page and I just posted to the general population, I can post something and it'll turn into a totally different, or go off the rails, not even what I posted about, and it gets hijacked and it turns into something else because it's all emotional. Or I operate now in a private group where those that are there are under the same mindset. I'm here to learn. I'm here to have discussion, and it can go this way, but it's a much smaller platform now. I'm using a bigger platform to bring it down to this, and those that will want to learn will be in there, and I can control better the message not getting lost in the chaos of the wild west of what social media has become. And then there's plenty of entertainment aspect. If you want, there's people that love the drama. Cool. Enjoy it. Go do it. If social media is becoming a harder place to learn, is what I'm getting at. It's becoming a harder place to share stuff without it turning into an emotional or reactive kind of situation. And I miss the old days. Now I'm turning old. I miss the old. I remember when this stuff first started and we could all kumbaya and get along. You'd have a few things. Unfortunately, our best way to do that now is in a much more kind of smaller, private way of doing it within those same platforms.
Yeah. Love it, man. Well, I just remember you in 2018, 2019, and I just love seeing the progression of Cameron Ford through the process. Because I remember when a certain somebody was telling me, even Cameron loves my product. And then and then it was, Cameron's against this. And then look, full circle, like, giving people the options and recognizing there's a place for everything.
Yeah.
And so I love that, man.
Yeah.
It's been 2 hours. We appreciate it, brother.
Yeah.
How can people get in touch with you? Give us the information on your socials, Stratus, all that stuff.
Yeah. So FordK9.com is the website still. So FORDK9.com. The handle on Instagram, so if you're in the demographic that likes Instagram best, it's just Ford Canine Detection. So FORDK9 Detection. That's Instagram. Cameron Ford K9 on Facebook. Again, like I was saying, we've kind of evolved to in the Ford K9 side of the business is we're much more membership focused now, and we have some new things coming out. Because I've experimented a little bit after we got bought out. They've removed some things that we're now going to bring back. We're going to bring back the webinars. We're going to bring back some things. But the biggest difference I was talking about a minute ago is we have a private Facebook group where I'm interactive on there, usually daily if I'm not traveling. If I'm at a seminar, I might be quiet for 3 or 4 days. but we post videos in there frequently. We are in there posting videos all the time because we want people to engage. So it's not just us, it's also the students that are in there.
Nice.
They're posting videos, sharing stuff, asking questions. People are coming out of their shell. So that's a big focus. And if you're somebody that's on the other side of what our businesses are, the Stratus Canine side, if you want to become a handler or you're looking at a career, Stratus Canine is just the best way is STRATOSK 9 Stratus K9. You can find it on Instagram. They're not really on Facebook. It's pretty much Instagram and LinkedIn is their big platforms. Cause again, I'm not really running the social media. I just create stuff and then our social media team puts it out there. Which has also been a learning curve too, because they're not dog people. So they put some weird stuff sometimes. So I've had people like, oh, you say this and you show a video of this or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, it's not me, it's other people. But again, not to detract from that, but if you're looking for potential, like, even if you just want to learn about it, we have classes now that go through the Ford Canine side that the pipeline is for the Stratus Canine side. So if you go to stratuscanine.com, there's our application areas. For those that we always tell everybody, if you want a job, and I'm looking for people all over the United States because we have a lot of the tech companies that have lots of events around. I haven't been able to hit a lot of them because we just don't have the manpower at this point. But with our contracting side of it, we are growing. I'm getting there's guys retiring in New York City. I've got guys retiring in Florida that we are utilizing because they have lots of experience to also help us grow. So if you want to get into it, maybe if it's coming to us or even going to some of the ones that we are now using as subcontractor instructors for us, you can go to these areas. It's just out there because as we both know, they could work for your company on this weekend and come work for me and my company on the other weekend. They're just changing out the shirts, and none of us are mad at, I know I'm not, I want handlers out there making money.
Yep.
If this is their living, and if I don't have enough work for you, by all means, go to wherever you go to. Go out there, especially if you're a contractor, be that free agent, but be a good person and represent, and not everybody's going to do things the same way, which is fine. There's different reasons, different uses, but go out there, be open and understanding, and go out there, and we provide one of those opportunities under that Stratus Canine side.
Awesome. I'm gonna give a shout out to Natalie really quick because
yes, please.
Recently spoke to Marissa from, I think it's Canine Wizard in Ohio, and they had me going up there sometime in May to do a detection course. And so I asked her, like, in the past, who have you had? And by far, she said her favorite instructor was Natalie, and all the awesome things that she was able to do. And they had a bunch of people there, and so she spoke nothing but amazing things. And the way that she communicated and cared about everybody and got reps in and answered all the questions. So props to her. I know that she does a lot of things for you guys, and
yes,
she's a good representation of where the industry should go. And so props to her as well.
She is such an asset to, I mean, she's been with Ford Canine since it was in its really infancy stages, and she has been through the hard part of it. She's been through this changeover of a buyout. Her and I, it's always funny. I've watched the world go, are you guys husband and wife? Like, they think we're a married couple, and we're clearly not. She's been happily married since she's been like 19 or 20 years old with her husband. But we do interact, and I've had to evolve with her too, because I haven't always been the greatest work spouse is probably the best description of it, of how I've, because we travel a lot together, and it's been, I tell her the other day, it was back 2 weeks ago, she was lead on our NVIDIA contract that we just did. And that was 23 dog teams. Wow. She was the manager. She was running it. I was basically sitting in a car most of the time, just being the coach for her. Somebody she'd come to and ask some ideas to. She crushed it. I told her, in my opinion, you probably did better than I would have. And that was fulfilling for me to see somebody who I've worked with, who I saw when she first came into this industry to where she's at now, and do really well. And I love hearing examples like you just gave. So people that are listening or watching this, watch Natalie. She's even has some of the sport videos that are out there under sitstaylearn.com. She's got a whole series that she did out there, a series of videos she did there. She's talented. And like you said, the next generation has had to put up with old farts like me that have been harder on her. She's special. So definitely people need to, if you get an opportunity to train with her or follow her, do that. She's Natalie Knows, Nose, Natalie Knows Canine on Instagram. She has, I forget, you know, a small number of followers, whatever it is now. It's probably at least a couple thousand. Go follow her. She puts out some fun, like she's more about the fun side of things. So she puts out lots of cute videos along with some good educational stuff. So if everybody's watching, listen to this, go follow her, because I would love to see her all of a sudden go, well, how did I start getting more people following me? I'd be like, Steven gave you some good props, and I definitely backed it up. And I think people should go watch and learn from her.
Awesome, dude. Hey, thank you for everything you're doing. Thanks for your friendship, your mentorship. You've answered a lot of questions for me over the years, and some of that's in the private, but just publicly, I want to say thank you, man. I appreciate it.
No, and I'm super grateful for people like you that have also picked up the baton. And the detection community is a small community, and it needs more voices. You know, the ego side of us, even me in the beginning days, I want to be the voice, and and I've learned, dude, there's so much work that none of us could even keep up with it, even if we all, we're all involved in it. So, but what I've really learned is it's so important to hear other perspectives, other points of view. Take what you want, leave what you don't, but they need, and I love the fact that you were also in the science nerd like I was. So you jumped in that world as well, and they need to hear from people like you and others. There's great trainers out there, the Don Blairs of the world, yourself, the Wesley Visser. I mean, I could go on and on and on. There's a lot of great, amazing detection dog trainers out there. There's ones I haven't even heard of. Like you made a post the other day about who you get to go train with, and I was like, damn, I'm getting old because I don't even know who some of these people are. So, and it's not a dig on them at all. It's a little bit of how out of touch my world has become because of what I do. I think it's so critical that they go out there, go see seminars, go talk to people, go listen to podcasts, go videos, and do some FAFO, figure it out, have fun, listen, and be humble along the way.
Amen.
Don't do like I did sometimes.
Awesome. Thank you, brother. We'll talk soon.
No problem. Sounds good.
Welcome to the next step, the next phase, where the sky ain't the limit, it's just a place. Next level vibes for your ears today. Hey, next level, next level. Take it up, never settle. Next level, where the stories turn special. It's the Next Level Podcast, where we have a blast. Next level,
It's not so efficient.